Oh, I'm trying to quantify, Jonathan, just how much Elon Musk has invested or lost in his work in this administration.
Well, it certainly didn't end on a happy note, did it? And certainly he's got complicated business interests. And of course, he spent some of which he's probably making money from the Trump administration, others maybe less.
Right.
But Elon Musk, it does seem, has spent nearly $300 million, Mika, to help elect Donald Trump. But Musk is now lashing out against the president's domestic policy bill, the signature legislative item of his term. Musk called it a disgusting abomination. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander has more.
This morning, less than a week after leaving the White House, billionaire Elon Musk is attacking President Trump's signature spending bill.
An honor to be with Elon.
Musk launching a long string of posts yesterday. I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination, he writes, adding, shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. After President Trump has spent weeks lobbying his party to vote for the bill, Musk also posted, in November next year, we fire all politicians who betrayed the American people. And overnight writing that overspending will drive America into debt slavery. The White House responding yesterday.
The president already knows where Elon Musk stood on this bill. It doesn't change the president's opinion.
Some conservatives agreeing with Musk on Twitter, while another Trump ally, House Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene, posted about a provision in the bill blocking states from regulating AI, writing, I would have voted no if I had known this was in there. As a whole, the bill would extend President Trump's 2017 tax cuts, with the largest savings going to the wealthy, direct more money to the military and border enforcement, while cutting social programs, including Medicaid. Independent analysts project, as written, the spending bill could add several $1 trillion to the deficit. Some Senate Republicans say that's too much.
I'm open to compromise on the bill. I'm just not open to supporting $5 trillion. This will, in debt ceiling increase.
The president lashing out at Republican Rand Paul on social media, saying he has very little understanding of the budget plan. Meanwhile, the president's latest steel and aluminum tariffs went into effect overnight, doubling from 25% to 50%. The president's top target in the trade war remains China. Amid a series of flare-ups between Washington and Beijing, the president posting overnight, I like President Xi of China, but he is very tough and extremely hard to make a deal with.
That was NBC's Peter Alexander with that report, and that last Truth Social post put up late last night. Ominous for many. We'll see where that takes us in terms of the trade relationship with Beijing. A lot to talk about. Joining us now, we have contributor to The Atlantic, Kurt Andersen, and editor-at-large at Newsweek, longtime media industry CEO and a founder of CNBC, Tom Rogers. Our thanks to you both for being here. Kurt, starting with you, just your sense here first on the Musk blow-up. This is someone who, as we've talked about the last couple of days, not only sank in an extraordinary amount of money in last year's campaign to help get Trump elected, but then came in almost as a co-president. He had just as much power, it felt like, as Donald Trump in terms of getting the keys to the government, slashing and burning it, remaking it in his image. And here we are, a few months later, he goes out with a whimper and turns into a vocal critic of the man's agenda who he helped elect.
Yes, I'm happy. And the amazing thing is, the great thing is, frankly, yes, he was almost co-president, he also always had all these hundreds of billions of dollars and his independent fan base of 200 million people on Twitter or whatever it is. And unlike the other multi-billionaires, centibillionaires who have few money, were they to employ it that way, the Zuckerbergs, the Bezoses, here he is. Hey, I don't need this guy. He needed me more than I need him, and now I can tell the truth as I see it, which is just an extraordinary thing to see, and of course casts the others, the capitulators, in the harsh light in which they deserve to be cast. It's you know, and I'm reminded of what he said about Vladimir Putin a week ago. Like, I thought we were friends. I thought we had a relationship. Well, you know, in this transactional world in which Donald Trump lives with Elon Musk, sorry, you're friends until you're not. And as you described in the last segment, as soon as he left the White House, his friends, his desires, the things he wanted, whether it was the tax credit or his guy to run NASA, no, sorry. Well, Who can play at that game?
Yeah, no, so Kurt, at the heart of, Musk has his own complaints about the bill, but some other Republicans have zeroed in, and Democrats too, we should of course say, have zeroed in on some of the Medicaid cuts. Josh Hawley, one who's usually with the Trump agenda, has said, look, we can't do that. But others, Joni Ernst in particular, displayed a, shall we say, callousness towards those who might be impacted.
Yeah, the Joni Ernst thing was amazing. I mean, she made this mistake in a town hall saying, oh, everybody's going to die. Error. But then instead of just forthrightly, admitting it was an error, and she was actually trying to pull off this Donald Trump. I was just joking. I'm joking now. Screw you. This thing that she can't do, that indeed no normal Republican politician can do. They think, oh, Trump does this, I can do this. She can't, she couldn't. And it's yet more evidence that the people who are just, oh, I can be a jerk like Trump, whether it's her or Ron DeSantis or J.D. Vance, it doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
It works for him.
Yeah, with Trump's talent, let's put it in quotes, but it's a talent. He can pull that off when others can't, but yet others still feel like they need to follow his playbook of not apologizing. It doesn't quite work as well for them. Tom, let's get you in on this, the debate around the bill. Musk's opposition, the Republicans, he's right about some of it in terms of how it's going to explode deficit and debt. And it does seem like Democrats have really seized on this. We heard from Jeffries, Schumer, many more yesterday saying, look, even Elon Musk agrees with us. It's a bad bill.
Absolutely. But what I think is most significant here is Elon Musk's value to the Republicans was his pocketbook. And it would have been one thing to condemn the bill. It's another thing to say, let's go after those Republicans who voted for this and make sure they don't come back. That suggests, if he sticks to it, that his money is not going to be there in 2026 to support the Republican Party in a way that he was there before. And that's a much more important factor than what he thinks about this particular bill.
Yeah. I think we'll have to see if he follows through. But you're right. In Musk's barrage of tweets yesterday about the bill, he did say we should vote out all these people. Now, will he put his money behind it next fall? We'll see. Or at the very least, does he keep his money on the sidelines? That would certainly be a win for Democrats as well. So, Tom, tariffs are a big part of this. We mentioned, the White House has been desperately, I've talked to people there for weeks now. They desperately trying to get a call scheduled with Xi Jinping in China. Chinese seem less interested. There's still nothing on the books. But tariffs, I know you've been looking at this. You feel like that's just one of the ways in which Trump 2.0, even in its early stages, has already caused real damage to the United States in the globe's eyes.
Absolutely, but one of a number of issues. Last time I was in this show was talking about a poll that was very methodologically sound. My most recent column is definitely not that. I talked to a number of people in my business and legal circles just to get an idea of what they believe were the most chaotic, catastrophic, cruel elements of the Trump administration in the first 4 months, and came up with a list of 6 that rose to the top. Tariffs in there, but clearly USAID and elimination of that funding, medical research and scientific research, the cutbacks there, no policy rationale or justification. The IRS cutbacks of 40,000 staff makes absolutely no sense in the midst of all this discussion of deficit and debt and what a new budget bill is going to do, what Moody's downgrading the credit means, and the wobbliness of the Treasury market. And here we are eviscerating the revenue collection capability of the United States government. And in addition to those 3, obviously Ukraine and what the president is doing to stand the world order on its head relative to support of Putin's position relative to the Ukrainians, and of course due process, and what has largely been aimed at non-citizens in the immigration fight, but is increasingly being suspected that with Stephen Miller talking about suspending habeas corpus, that constitutional protections largely are going to go by the wayside, even more so than we've already seen. So 6 ways to ruin the country in 4 short months.
Yeah. Kurt Andersen, there are Republicans who could stand in the way of the the BBB, so-called Big Beautiful Bill. And I'm curious as to what the impetus would be not to stand up against some of these cuts that will hurt their constituents terribly, because the midterms are coming up before the next presidential election. Aren't they going to pay the price?
Well, that's why these weasels have delayed the both the Medicaid cuts and the huge, half as huge food stamp cuts from going into effect until when? Right after the midterm elections. So that's how they think they can get away with saying, oh no, there's no cuts, it's just fraud, waste, fraud, and abuse. No, there's these giant multi-$100 million cuts that literally, in the case of the first tranche of Medicaid cuts, will take place in right after the midterm election. So they think we've kicked the can down the road in this sneaky way to then, and then more in 2028. So that's how they think they can get away. But if the Democrats and all of us are doing their jobs to say, wait, no, these cuts are real, that they're just, what's happening now are these massive tax cuts, mostly for the rich. What's happening later, after the election, are these cuts that hurt millions and millions of Americans.
As to tariffs, the feedback that I got from a lot of people was the slashing of medical research, USAID, IRS are likely to stand. Tariffs have been such a volatile area with imposition of crazy notions, pulling back. There was a view there that some of those tariffs will stay. There'll be inflation that comes from some of it, but the guardrails of the stock and bond market, coupled with what looks like the courts taking away the power that Trump thought he had to impose across-the-board tariffs, there's likely to be much more muted effect there than originally thought. Nonetheless, the idea that Trump is going to do anything that is going to drive consumer prices higher, which looks like the outcome one way or another of continued tariff policy, just is a further area where ruining the country and the economy in 4 months certainly came to the top of everybody's list.
Editor-at-large at Newsweek, Tom Rogers, thank you very much. His new piece available to read online right now, and contributor to The Atlantic.
Tôi mong một bức tranh về một chú gấu trúc đang ngồi, ăn thú nhạ, và sau thì là một cành cây và rất là nhiều lá, và đây là một chú gấu trúc và món ăn khoái khẩu của gấu trúc là măng tre. Đầu tiên thì mình sẽ tô màu chú gấu trúc nha. Đây là một chú gấu trúc màu đen. Tiếp theo thì mình sẽ tô chiếc tai. Tiếp theo mình sẽ tô phần thân của chú gấu trúc. Mình sẽ tô tai này. Tiếp theo thì tô phần thân. mình sẽ tô tiếp theo thì mình sẽ tô màu trên này. Tiếp theo mình sẽ tô màu cây trúc, cây măng này nha, mình sẽ tô màu xanh. Cây này mình sẽ lựa chọn tô thân cây màu nâu. Tiếp mình sẽ tô một lá. Vậy là mình đã tô màu hoàn thiện xong bức tranh về chú gấu trúc đáng yêu. Thì các bạn có thể tham khảo qua cách tô màu này của mình. Khi sẽ tô màu đến đây cũng hết.